Bears fans, welcome back. Claws up, bear down. I guess NFC North fans too. I'm learning that more people from NFC North teams are starting to tune into some of these comparing the NFC North starting videos. This is going to be on the safeties. So other teams enjoy this video. You've done more than we have, but we're catching up to you. I'm going to show you guys that one. This one will help explain to Bears fans why some of these national pundits, why PFF graded our secondary so low. I don't agree with it. I think Kevin Byard had a lower season than normal. He switched between two teams. He switched between Tennessee, getting traded to Philadelphia. There's always going to be hiccups when that happened, and now he's with the Bears. He has a whole offseason to prepare for that, so that's not going to be as big a hiccup. Jaquan Brisker really came on throughout the year. I'm not going to show all that in this video, but a lot of Bears fans realize that. But other teams like the Packers picked up Xavier McKinney, but they have a weakness in having three rookies at strong safety, at free safety. I mean, they've got a whole rookie class to see who pans out. I do like some of those guys. I think Javon Bullard is a good pickup. And then the Lions have new additions as well. And the Vikings pretty much have the same core, but they're getting a little older. Is Harrison Smith going to keep up his production? We'll see as we go through this. A lot of you guys know this stems from a video I made a couple weeks ago where I did a position-by-position ranking, unbiased, best of the best in the NFC North position ranking overview. These videos, these individual breakdowns are to take a formula that I use. This is my created, how I grade these things, and to be able to see if I was being unbiased or not, to see if my rankings are true to form. Most of them have been so far. You're going to see in this one, I'm letting the cat out of the bag. I was a little biased on this one. I think the Bears secondary, I think their safeties especially, are better than the NFL has them ranked at. Stats from last year don't back that up, even though the Bears have significantly improved any way you slice it. Going from Hicks and Eddie Jackson to now having Jonathan Owens as the backup and Kevin Byard as the starter, that is a significant improvement. You'll see that in here. But let's break it down. Let's get right into it and show you how we grade these things. So first of all, let's show these. Let me get my mug off of here. This is from my other video. This is how I have them ranked. Ifeatu Melifonwu. If a Lions fan knows how to say his name better than me, go nuts. I'm never going to learn how to say his name. Was ranked 9th, but really limited production time. Kirby Joseph ranked 83, but just like the Bears, really coming on strong at the end of the year, really solid with his NFL pass rating against. Jaquan Brisker had a solid year, but really better in the second half. Kevin Byard ranked 23rd, even though it was a down year for him. His coverage grade is amazing. His tackling grade is amazing. We'll get into that. And everybody knows, on this channel at least, I wanted the Bears to sign Xavier McKinney. I think Kevin Byard is a great consolation prize for not getting Xavier McKinney. And honestly, I'm glad the Bears didn't pay him what Xavier McKinney wanted. With the Packers paying Xavier McKinney what he wanted, and now giving Jordan Love an extension, which should be coming soon, according to their GM. They said they're going to extend him, and every Bears fan, every Lions fan, every Vikings fan should be, I guess the Packers fans are too, but they're the delusional ones with cheese on their head. Every other fan is hoping they do because there's so many unknowns with Jordan Love. There's so many things. Let's bring this back on here so I can talk for a second. There's so many unknown things with him. We're going to get into the quarterback video soon. I promise we're going to get to that one. But for half a season, he showed extreme upside promise. But if you look at the underlying metrics, there's a lot to worry about there. When you're signing big contracts like Xavier McKinney's as a starting safety, which, heck, he's worth it. To me, you saw me tout him in the offseason. I really wanted the Bears to grab Xavier McKinney. I didn't think he would be that expensive. For them to grab him and then to extend Jordan Love, they still have a young team, but those things are going to start coming to head pretty soon. They keep signing these big extensions. They keep signing these big players. They keep signing the Josh Jacobs to big contracts that aren't deserved. It's going to start coming to a head pretty soon, and this is what the rest of the NFC North wants because the Packers have had a pretty strong hold in the division for a while. It looks like the Lions are going to have the foreseeable hold on it. The Bears are right behind him, and I think the Vikings are doing the right approach to how they're rebuilding as well. Then you got the Vikings. You've got them with Harrison Smith, who's getting older, as I mentioned, and Cameron Bynum, who's a good young player who's on the upswing as well. All right, so this is what we're going to base it on. We're going to get in the meat and potatoes of this. Number one, this is what I think are the most important things for the safety position. We've done a lot on cornerbacks, and it's clear, and I'm going to do another one for this, but I've already shown it 15 different ways, so I'm kind of delaying that one, so there's a gap between when I showed my previous cornerback stuff to when I'm showing my future one. The Bears are dominant at corner in this division. There's no ifs, ands, or but about it. The Bears have the best cornerback group. Packers fans think Jair Alexander and puts them at the top. It's not even close. We'll get into that later. But so that's the complete picture of the secondary as cornerbacks and safeties. For this one, we're just focusing on the safeties. Tackling, I think, is hugely important for your safety position. PFF grade for tackling is the first thing we're going to gauge them on. Second is their coverage grade. Obviously, they're back in the secondary. They have to be able to stop guys from receiving the ball. That's their main purpose, tackling and stopping them from catching the ball. PFF grade for defensive coverage against receivers. NFL passer rating against, also a metric about coverage, but more specific to how well a quarterback is able to throw against them, how much they're locked down. So those three aspects are what we're going to gauge this on, and this is out of 103 qualified safeties, at least 10 snaps per game, and you'll see we take the top three from each team. So this is last year's team, and you see the asterisk at the top, no longer on the team. You see Tracy Walker's not on the team, Eddie Jackson's not on the team. Elijah Hicks will not be on the Bears. I'm going to call that right now. He's terrible. You look at this and you're going to see what I'm talking about. The Bears have not been strong at safety since Eddie Jackson's decline. Now, Eddie Jackson was a Pro Bowler, and he played very well. This last year wasn't that bad, but he's definitely been on the decline. There's a reason the Bears moved on from him. You see the Packers, all three of their main guys are gone. They are completely changed. Rudy Ford's gone, which was a huge loss to them that I don't think is talked about enough. And Packers fans act like, oh, we're good. We got Xavier McKinney. And I agree, Xavier McKinney's who I wanted. But Rudy Ford with a 30.1 NFL passer rating against is elite. 72.9 coverage grade. That's the PFF grade. High is good on these. NFL passer rating, low is better. So this is what we're talking about there. Tackling is also PFF grade, so high is good. So you see there with the Lions, Kirby Joseph, those grades are a little bit low. They could be a little bit higher, but the NFL passer rating is very good, 52.1. So there's good things. I'm not going to go through every one of these guys, but really the thing to mention down on the Vikings, it's a little bit of a hybrid thing because Josh Metellus is going to be their nickelback this year. He's really a hybrid player that filled in multiple positions. So we're not going to include him on this year's roster for 2024. And I just realized I didn't change at the top on the future slide. I'll make sure I notify that. But Josh Metellus is going to be the nickel, so we're going to take him out of that slot. You can see his NFL pass rating against wasn't the best anyways. But Jonathan Owens is no longer on the Packers. He's with the Bears. He's our third option now and a very, very solid backup as well. So how did these guys grade out last year from where I have it? Well, number one was the Packers. Rudy Ford did very well. Jonathan Owens, a solid backup. Darnell Savage had an all right year. Could have been better, but could have been worse as well. And they graded out number one in the division. Number two, the Vikings. Number three, the Lions. Number four, the Bears, and it wasn't even close. Elijah Hicks was a huge liability, and Eddie Jackson had a very down year. So Bears fans, I know we don't want to always see these things, but this is why we put a focus on it. This is why we got Byard and Owens. This is why the focus was on improving that area of our team. Where do we stand this year? Well, let's look at where things changed for each team. So Brendan Joseph was on the Lions last year. He's now their third option there. So we have to give him an NA grade, even though he's a second-year player. He really only played special teams last year. Jaquan Brisker, Kevin Byard comes over, and look at this is the big difference I love in the Bears. 91.0 tackling grade. Jonathan Owens, 78.6 tackling grade. As far as tackling, the Bears pretty much have this area covered. And that's what we love about the Bears' hits principle. The hits principle is huge with Matt Eberflus. That hits principle is a big reason why we want players like Jaquan Brisker, Kevin Byard, Jonathan Owens. They're going to be hitting that ball out. You saw in the press conference earlier this year, they talked about 40 takeaways. I made a whole video on that, how 40 takeaways is hard to do. But they said 20 peanut punches or 20 interceptions. We don't care how they come. We're going for 40. I absolutely love the mentality. This team is out to prove something. And after the disrespect of PFF saying we're a bottom of the league secondary, the Bears are going to be out for blood. Coverage grade, much improved. You see between 62 and 70. Those are good coverage grades. NFL passer rating against, now you have to take this with a grain of salt because Jonathan Owens was on a different team. Kevin Byard was on a different team. Jaquan Brisker was on the Bears, but this secondary was really coming together the second half of the year. So this is going to be something to watch. You see the Lions, their NFL passer rating against was a little higher, but their tackling grades are lower. So it's a give and take type of thing. With the Packers, what you've got is a very high-end Pro Bowl style player with Xavier McKinney, but then 2 rookies right behind him. Is there going to be some learning curve there? There usually is at the cornerback and safety position. So this is why I said earlier, I wish the Bears were playing the Packers game 1 this year, because their secondary is going to get rocked down in Sao Paulo, Brazil. I am going to tell you right now, the Packers will get rocked. Not just lose to the Eagles, they're going to get rocked. It's going to be a wake-up call. 10-point spread at least, and that's a big spread in football. For those of you who are avid fans, 10 points is a big spread. 10-point double-digit loss. I'm calling it right now. Yes, you guys who watch me, you can see I do have a disdain for the Packers, so anytime there's a chance to pile on them, as long as it's based with a basis, a reason for it, I'm going to pile on, and I can't wait to watch that game and then get right on Twitter, get right on YouTube, and let these guys hear it, because they need some humble pie hard. All right, down to the Vikings. Not a lot of change there. You can see Theo Jackson didn't have a lot of snaps, but really not a huge downfall from their nickel, but it is what it is. It's not graded very hard anyways. The top 2 starters are really the ones that grade hard in my system. So where does that rank them out? Let's look at it, and I got to move my mug out of the way again. Bears are still in 4th, but look on the left side how much the gap closed. And now these rankings, these scores are all relative to the other teams in the division. So teams could have stayed the same like the Vikings, and their score will change because it's relative to how the other teams in the division are. And that's how I grade it out. So with this one, you've got the Packers still number 1 because of Xavier McKinney. Even though Javon Bullard and Evan Williams are unknowns, they get an average grade. Javon Bullard could be a bust. Evan Williams could be a bust. And then all of a sudden, they're going to be bottom. So it's all going to depend on how that pans out. But Xavier McKinney is a high enough graded player. One of my favorite safeties in the league that he still carries the 2 rookies with their average grade. Whereas Jaquan Brisker, Kevin Byard, and Jonathan Owens are all above average grades, but none of them are quite as high as Xavier McKinney. Kevin Byard is close, but his NFL pass rating against was a little bit worse last year with him jumping between teams. I think that's going to significantly come down this next year with the crucible, with the Bears secondary. So I think this is going to be a thing where it does end up just where I'm saying. In fact, I think I could have bet a little high on the Lions on this one. I think the Bears could be the number 1 safety group, not just secondary, but cornerbacks and safeties will rank number 1 by the end of the year. I am going to update these as we go throughout the year. I'm going to keep these in updated rolling with my grading system. I'm going to let you guys know which team has the best at each position. But as for this, look how close this one is now. Packers 32.48, Vikings 30.76, Lions 30.39, Bears 29.86. So of any of the positional groups, now I said, like I said, 2023 at the top. I forgot to change that. I apologize for that. It is what it is at this point. But out of any of the positional groups, this one by far to me is the closest with all of them. The Lions have some solid returners, but a little bit to prove. The Vikings have all their returners returning, but getting a little bit older. The Packers bring in an all-star, all-pro with Xavier McKinney, but 3 rookies right behind him. How long will it take them to get up to speed? And the Bears have 3 really solid players who Kevin Byard had a little bit of a down year from his norm because he was switching between teams. How much will he adapt to the Bears system? Will he jump right in with the hits principle? And will he be the stud that the Bears are expecting him to be with his new contract? I absolutely buy into that, but I can see how Packers and Lions and Vikings might say, well, he had a down year. He's on the decline. Every team has a reason to have a basis for everything they do. So I'm taking this strictly off of last year's stats. And in this instance, that does hurt the Bears a little bit. So tell me what you guys think. I absolutely think this is one where the Bears will pull ahead. I'm not down on them. I think this linebackers with Tremaine Edmonds, they're ones where the Bears are definitely going to improve because you saw it the second half of the year. You saw that improvement. You saw it gaining momentum. And this is just like the Lions the year before where they had that momentum and they were like, well, look at us. Look what we did in the second half of the year. The Bears have the exact same basis for this. Unlike the Packers, now I can talk all day on this stuff. The Packers had reasons for what happened where it happened, and it wasn't all because of their growth. It wasn't all because of them. The Bears grew because the Bears grew. The Lions grew because the Lions grew. There's basis behind those things. That's why I see the Lions and the Bears being the ascending stars in the NFC North. Little long-winded, little quick talking on this one, trying to get through it quick. Let me know what you guys think. I'll have another one out for you tomorrow. Until next time, thanks for tuning in. If you haven't hit the like button by now, please do so. If you haven't subscribed by now, please do so. We're trying to grow this channel. I really want to make this something that I can be more committed and consistent with. So please do so. Appreciate all of you guys. You're all awesome. Thanks for tuning in, and bear down.